Pay close attention. What you're about to see is Bible prophecy being fulfilled.
Welcome to another edition of YPN News, bringing you the news as it relates to Bible prophecy and foretold by Yeshua Hawkins. Now, Pope Francis made the news again this week as he says ISIS must be stopped. But in return, ISIS is now threatening to go after the Pope. Also, we're going to be reporting on one preacher's call for vengeance for the shooting of Michael Brown, and we're going to look at one country's modern-day plague. But first, let's look at the severe drought in California. Now, the drought in the west coast state of California is worsening every day and now becoming critical for some in the state. In a small town of only 7,300 residents, the wells have simply run dry. At least 300 homes have been without water for weeks now in the town of Porterville, California. Elizabeth Baker, a distraught mother, expressed what she and her children were going through. She said, "We can't shower, we're wearing dirty clothes. My kids had to wear dirty clothes to school this morning."
It's amazing. She went on to explain how she had to go across the street last night to get water for her children from the local fire department. She said, "I feel like a bad mom, and it's not even my fault," she said as she struggled to hold back tears when she was speaking to reporters.
Well, there are actually entire neighborhoods now without water in East Porterville. The county set up 5,000-gallon water tank for residents to help with flushing toilets and irrigation. However, drinking water is now the problem. One city worker said, "We received direction early last week from county administration to come out and conduct an emergency operation. We distributed 15,552 gallons of drinking water to the community."
Despite the relief effort, the county is highly concerned the problem could get even worse. They believe some are not reporting their wells have gone dry out of fear that their landlords will evict them or their children will be taken away. In fact, the county didn't even know how dire the problem was until they were tipped off by a nonprofit group.
Donna Johnson, as she drives through one neighborhood, counts the homes and explains they are all out of water. Now, she has been delivering water to those in need for months. It's just kind of become a job, she said. She felt compelled to help with the water shortage and even took out a personal loan to pay for the water. Now, sometimes I go home and cry because some of the situations are so sad right now.
Yeah, the problem's bigger than any one person can handle. County officials have been handing out 12 gallons of water to each person in need. It's considered a 3-week supply of water. In fact, that's actually a bare minimum, seems like, supply of water. They're asking the state of California to reimburse them for the $30,000 they spent on water so far.
Well, residents of Madagascar have been experiencing what life was like in the days of Moses, when a huge swarm of locusts descended upon their capital city. Now, in the past 5 years, swarms of giant locusts have regularly swept in over the island nation off of Africa's southeastern coast, devastating crops and other food supplies within just a few hours. They can come in and wipe out the entire crop.
Wow, that's amazing. The Food and Agriculture Organization, or FAO, of the United Nations estimates that the ongoing locust plague in Madagascar threatens the livelihoods of some 13 million people, of which 9 million earn their living from the very land that the locusts are actually destroying.
Now, last year, the UN agency launched a 3-year emergency program to try and control the locust infestations through aerial campaigns to protect the crops. One representative explained out of the $44 million in donations that the FAO has called for to fund the program, it has only so far received $28 million. So that's about $15 million short. And unless they get that other $15 million, they can't start the program. So therefore, they can't conduct any more of the aerial performances there where they spray the crops.
Right. Well, we are going to actually shift our focus over right now to the Vatican, of all places. The Catholic Church is pushing for war, and YPN's Larry McGee has our story. Larry, how exactly is the Pope endorsing war?
If the military forces in Iraq were to decide to take back territory from ISIS, then Pope Francis would endorse that decision for the reported purpose of stopping ISIS from attacking religious minorities. Analysts say strong emphasis is on the word stop. And while some believe that the church has been reluctant to involve itself in Mideast military matters up until now, analysts now believe that the Vatican is clearly building a case for military action under its just war doctrine. The pontiff's comment this week came following his trip to Seoul, South Korea, where on the plane, the Pope was asked if he supported U.S. airstrikes against ISIS in Iraq. In these cases, said the Pope, where there is an unjust aggression, I can only say that it is licit to stop the unjust aggressor. I underscore, he went on to say, the verb to stop. I'm not saying bombing or making war, but to stop him. The means by which he can be stopped must be evaluated. Stopping, he concluded, the aggressor is licit. Analysts, of course, say that the Pope chose his words very carefully. But in a situation where economic sanctions don't apply, it's clear to everyone what the pontiff, with his understanding of dark sentences, was intending to convey.
Now, Larry, what exactly does the Pope mean when he says licit, and what type of response is ISIS giving to this statement?
By licit, he means allowable or legal. And according to Italian news reports, ISIS now has the Pope in their crosshairs. The Vatican is reported to be downplaying the threats, however, while taking common sense safety precautions to guard the Pope against any possible attack.
Looks like a big case of tit for tat there. Well, in response to the conflict in Syria and Iraq, Britain has raised its terror threat level to severe. Prime Minister David Cameron is working on plans to stem the amount of people traveling abroad to join the conflict. In fact, Prime Minister Cameron said the Islamic State is posing a greater and deeper threat than it has before. He also said that the root of the problem is due to the poisonous ideology of Muslim extremism. This threat level is the second highest and was made by the Joint Analyst Center due to reports that were made in regards to threats that were being made of attacks or planned attacks against the West.
Well, the current fear is that around 500 British jihadists have gone abroad to fight, with about half of them currently in the UK planning attacks on European soil. Now, yet the UK's Home Secretary said that there is no intelligence that there are an imminent attack or there is an imminent attack, but this move was triggered to ensure public safety. Now, Prime Minister David Cameron is planning new legislation to prevent British citizens from traveling abroad to fight, plans which he will soon be making public. And Katan, part of those plans include the confiscation of passports as part of their attempts to stop their own citizens to going and fighting abroad, and then the rest of it, the other plans he's going to be making known in the future.
It seems like there's going to be a stink that comes about because how they're going to determine
that's right.
whose passport they're going to take. So we'll see what is on the horizon for that one. Well, in closing, at the recent funeral of slain teenager Michael Brown, held in St. Louis, Missouri, the preacher who resided over the ceremony called for the revenge of the blood that was spilled by those who allegedly partook in the actions that led to the deaths of Michael Brown, for one. He also mentioned the children of Sandy Hook Elementary and the Columbine High School massacre. Take a look at what he had to say.
And he said, "What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood cried unto me from the ground." Michael Brown's blood is crying from the ground, crying for vengeance, crying for justice. There is a cry being made from the ground, not just for Michael Brown, but for the Trayvon Martins, for those children at Sandy Hook Elementary School, for the Columbine Massacre, for the black-on-black crime. There is a cry being made from the ground, and God is hearing the vision of his slaves.
Wow. Well, droughts, plagues of insects, wars, and the threats of wars, vengeance and retaliation are all mankind is ever going to see because he has chosen the way of Cain and rejected the laws of peace. As Israel Hawkins and the House of Yahweh has been teaching, the lust for money, unlawful human interactions, and relationships are bringing all the curses that mankind is experiencing right now. Well, Mr. Pope, Mr. Preacher, and the rest of the world, the answer to your problem is in the very Bible that you claim to follow. There's more than just pretty stories of the scriptures that are made out by the religious leaders of this age. The Holy Scriptures are mankind's perfect guide for a peaceful, prosperous, and healthy life. Israel Hawkins and his staff is the only group on the face of the earth standing for the every word of Yahweh, just as it was prophesied he and his administration would do. You don't have to succumb to the negative peer pressure of this scripturally illiterate generation. Now's your opportunity to come out of this world. Here's how you can start.
You can contact the House Yahweh and request your free Prophetic Word magazine or monthly newsletter by writing them at The House of Yahweh, P.O. Box 2498, Abilene, Texas 79604. You can call them at 1-800-613-9494. Visit them on any of their websites, www.yahweh.com, www.yisraelhawkins.com, or www.yahwehsbranch.com. You can also email them at info@yahweh.com, and for any calls outside the United States, please call the number on your screen.
Well, stay tuned. Up next, Yisrael Hawkins bringing you the laws of life. For all of us here at YPN News, I'm Katan Alexander.
And I'm Jeffrey Heimerman.
Thank you for joining us.